characters in the book are Guy Montag, which he's the main character who is a fireman who breaks the law by stealing a book from a home he has to burn. In this society, books are illegal, so that's why he broke the law. There's also Mildred Montag, which is his wife, which turns out to be an antagonist in the end. There's Clarissa McClellan, which is the neighbor guy, and she is different from people because she has a unique curiosity to learn things, and she ends up dying because she doesn't fit in. There's Beatty, which is Montag's boss, who is very strict in enforcing the law, making sure that no one has books in possession. And so there's also Faber. He's a person who helps Montag escape from the police when they're searching for him, and he also collects books. There's also Granger, which is a person who helps Montag after he escapes from the city, and Faber and his group of friends are also fugitives for the exact same reason. Okay, so some main events in the book. Okay. So firemen, instead of preventing fires, they burn houses and books and basically things that people possess when they break the law. And at the beginning of the book, Mildred, Montag's wife, overdosed on drugs, and this is significant because in the story it says lots of people do try and kill themselves by doing things like that. And it was surprising to Montag because the people who helped his wife live were just people who didn't even go to college or didn't really have any training beforehand. They were just basically handymen. And Montag stole a book out of a house that he was supposed to burn. And he did that because Clarice had made him curious to read them with the things that she had told him about other stuff. And Beatty caught Montag in the act and kind of threatened him a few times to stop, and Montag didn't stop. So Montag ended up having to kill Beatty because he was being forced to burn down his own house. And Montag had to run away from the mechanical hound, which is basically a machine that's used to hunt people like fugitives down. And the hound ended up killing a different person because the hunt was televised and Montag got away, but they didn't want to show failure to the people, so they ended up just killing a random person in the streets. And later in the book, when they were walking further away from the city with Granger and his friends, the city was bombed in what they said was a war, and it lasted only a few seconds, and the entire city was destroyed in it. And during this, Montag remembered a couple of books that he had read before, and that's why Granger and his friends decided to let him stay, because they had to memorize books, and he remembered the book of Revelation and the book of Ecclesiastes. So some of the main conflicts in this book are Montag and Beatty. Beatty knew that Montag stole the book, so he felt that Montag had to be punished for it. There's Clarice in society. Clarice was different because she was very curious and different, didn't really fit in, and she said she ended up dying from being curious. It didn't really say why, but it said she was different, so she didn't fit in well enough. There's Granger and his friends against the law. Granger and his friends are all fugitives for stealing books, and they all got away with it, but they have to live outside of the city because they don't want to get caught. And then there's Montag and Mildred. They're married, but Mildred found the books that Montag had stolen. She ended up reporting him to the police, which ended up getting their house burnt down. So the narration, it was in first person, and it was used like this to make it more of an experience rather than you just viewing it. So it made the dramatic parts in the book more real, because it was saying how he felt about the things during it. And it's from Montag's point of view because he's a fireman, and it gives him more opportunities to break the law. He has more access to these books, and it's extremely forbidden for him especially to have the books. And this is just a picture of in the movie where he was stealing a book. That's the book that he stole.
Is that him?
in the movie. That's the actor.
It's Montauk, though. That's the character.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh wow, that's weird.
It's okay. You can fix it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So some of the themes. It's impossible to make everything perfect. But the books were originally banned because someone had a bias against it, or it made them feel like different, or they just simply didn't like the book, so they banned all books to make everyone feel equal, and that caused problems because like there's important meanings to the books, which is also like old stories are important. Faber and Granger made it clear in the thing that the old stories hold like underlying meanings that are kind of like can guide you through life and help you, and they benefit. But when it was banned, it really made society kind of become more like everyone has to be exactly the same.
Cool.
And this was a picture of some lady actually burning or someone choosing to burn her books down herself, and herself with it because she...
Wait, wasn't...
So, this is also a part where it changed Montauk's thinking.
This was a part of the plot? Main plot
Yeah, I
turn
can
right
also...
here.
Or I can move this up there.
Okay,
I think
hold
it
on.
might fit in
Hold on. Keep going.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so then the author is Ray Bradbury. He's a famous science fiction writer. The book Fahrenheit 451 is his most well-known book. Another one was The Illustrated Man and The Martian Chronicles, and also Dandelion Line. Those are his other famous books. Along with this, he wrote over 600 short stories, and several of his stories turned into films or like TV shows, or like Alfred Hitchcock Presents. That was one of the things they made.
Okay.
That's a picture of him, and as a child, he grew up in a very poor family, and he said he lived most of his life in Tucson, Arizona, and in Los Angeles, where he would try and meet celebrities.
You remember how he did that?
Like on roller skates or something. Yeah. And some of his accomplishments, he sold over 8 million copies of his works sold throughout the world, and they were translated and published in over 40 different languages. So, yeah. Quality, the things I liked the plot of the story in general. I thought it was just like the interesting, like how the story went, I guess. Usage of his comparisons, like he said, like the city after his bomb looked like just a pile of baking powder, and there's some other things like that. His description of a dystopian future, how basically in it, like trying to make everything equal, it made everyone unhappy in the end, and causes also. That's kind of that. The characters also, I like how none of the like people who are you'd think of as good people in the story actually like fit in, and all of them were like they all broke the law in some ways, and none of them conformed. So in this passage,
So you're going to read this not off the screen. You're going to read it off a paper, right?
I am.